stress really does get under the skin. We talk about stress like it's this hypothetical psychological concept, and oh, we're all under stress. Why should we take it seriously? Well, it's because it can quite literally change the brain in a way that makes you much more negatively emotional and much more impulsive, and that is not what we need at school or at home. Okay, so what happens now? Well, now you've got a brain, as you can see here, that's wired for negativity because the amygdala has become the dominant brain system. And that makes it nearly physically impossible to maintain emotional or cognitive control. Once you lose this down regulatory control because the prefrontal cortex is offline, that's when you see decision-making suffering, innovation and creativity start to stall, and people either become irritable, angry, or anxious, depending a lot on their personality type and on the things that they've experienced in the past. But the point I want to make here is that the brain is a physical structure, and it is what creates and allows all of the different types of cognition and emotion to be produced. So when your brain becomes functionally or ultimately structurally wired in a way that is perpetuating this type of negative emotionality, it becomes very hard, and eventually it will become impossible to regulate yourself. So in a way, it's not your fault, it's your brain's fault. And the brain, again, is trying to protect you. So it's important for you to understand that this isn't some kind of moral failing. This isn't something that is even under your direct control. The key word here is control. And once the brain starts to wire up like this, you've lost it, or at least you've lost the extent of control that you typically have. So this is why it's so important to, first of all, understand what stress really is and how it impacts the brain. And secondly, how to control it, how to modulate it, and how to regulate it so that you're not in this state. The pathway may be irritability, it may be anger, it may be anxiety. That's the emotional reactivity we talk about. Or other people may just shut down and totally check out. And that's where we get the kind of disengagement that we see in others. So it really depends on the person's personality type and on their past experiences. But if you push the brain to its limits, you will get one of these eventually. So it's very important to understand this. It's a physical, biological reality. This isn't a decision people make. It's the brain trying to protect itself, but it's doing that by using millions of years of evolution in a way that just isn't helpful in a modern work environment, and it's not helpful for you at school either. So there are two critical concepts to grasp here. One is that stress is real. It gets very easily into the brain, and it can really wreak havoc when it comes to the very neural systems that you're relying on to be your cognitive best. Two, these brain changes are self-fulfilling, meaning the longer you're in a reactive, stressed, anxious, or angry state, the more your brain wires itself to reflect that state because it thinks that there's a threat in the environment, and thus you perpetuate it. So again, these changes are physical. They can determine your behavior if you don't intervene, and we're going to talk about how to do just that in the next segment.